I was watching the clock and pleading to every deity I could list off the top of my head. 5 more minutes, and the charity fundraiser would finally be over. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for raising money for sick kids, or endangered dolphins, or whatever noble cause HR had pasted on the banner this year. But signing up to work the kissing booth? Yeah, that was peer pressure, wrapped in an email, and a fake smile from my manager. Our department's jar had barely a sprinkle of cash in it, which was fine by me. The fewer people lining up to press their faces against mine, the better. And no, that's not me being antisocial. That's just me being me. Kissing strangers for sport isn't really my hobby. Then Carter Finley showed up. Carter's senior developer. The guy who walked into a room and suddenly everyone remembered they had posture. Dark hair, stupidly intense eyes, and the kind of easy charm that made you forget words like consent forms and boundaries. He dropped a wad of bills into the jar like he was buying my soul at wholesale price. My stomach sank. "Guess it's my turn," he said, casual, like this was just a handshake. I wanted to disappear into the floor. Instead, I leaned across the counter and we kissed. Just a quick press of lips, nothing cinematic. But that split second might as well have been a whole-ass lifetime. Because right there was a spark, which, frankly, was ridiculous. Sparks are for rom-coms and malfunctioning power outlets. I pulled back fast, tried to play it cool, and told myself it was just nerves. Yeah, nerves. Then Carter glanced at his watch. All calm, like this was nothing life-changing. "I've got to run, helping someone move," he said, sliding a grin across his face as if he'd only just remembered an errand. My cheeks betrayed me. "Right. Moving," I managed, throat dry. He shrugged, already backing away, and left me standing there with my ridiculous heartbeat and the sudden, very inconvenient awareness that he might actually be the kind of guy who shows up and then disappears. Later that night, Zane and I detonated. For context, Zane was my boyfriend. Tall, sharp suit, sharper opinions. Investment banker with the kind of confidence that made my parents swoon. They loved him, called him a catch, like he was a trout I was lucky enough to reel in. On paper, he was perfect. In reality, being with him always felt a little like I was rehearsing someone else's lines. He came at me the second I walked through the door, arms crossed, jaw tight. "So, you and Carter looked cozy today?" I shut the door behind me, slipped my shoes off, and tried to hang my coat like it was any other night. "You mean at the kissing booth? The one you knew I was working? The one I told you about?" "You didn't have to enjoy it," he shot back. I let out a dry laugh and busied myself straightening the coat on the hook. I didn't. Zane, it was 2 seconds. For charity. I didn't plan this. He shook his head like I'd admitted to murder. "You're always too friendly. Always letting people walk all over you. Maybe that's why I have to remind you where the line is." That one landed. And it burned, because part of me hated how my parents had practically shoved me into this relationship, singing Zane's praises until I caved. The last thing I wanted was to wreck it over something stupid. So I tried. I set my keys down on the counter and walked toward him, softening my voice. "Look, I'm sorry if it looked bad. I didn't even want to do the booth in the first place. You know that. Let's just not do this tonight, okay?" But he didn't budge. His face stayed locked in that tight, disapproving mask, and the more I tried to ease the tension, the sharper his words got. He wasn't looking for peace. He wanted a win. And I hated it, because I'd actually had a good day. A rare one. And here he was, turning it into a pissing contest I didn't sign up for. So I grabbed my jacket back off the hook. "Forget it," I muttered, tugging it on. "I need some air." "You walk through that door, Jules. Then we're done." Zane sneered. I froze, hands on the doorknob. You can't be serious. I'm dead serious. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. He practically had me at gunpoint. dangling our relationship as though he was doing me a favor. You know what, Zane? Screw you. I want you out of my apartment by the time I'm back. I slammed the door before he could get another word in. I didn't trust myself not to chuck a shoe at his perfectly carved jaw. And as I stormed out into the lobby, head buzzing, I clipped shoulders with someone carrying a stack of moving boxes tall enough to hide their face. The boxes wobbled, but didn't fall. Sorry, I muttered, already moving again. Didn't even look back. I just really needed air. 2 days later. 2 days later, the breakup had hollowed me out. My apartment felt twice as big without Zane in it, which was strange because I'd never thought of him as someone who filled space. He filled the silence, sure, with critiques and investment jargon, but space? Not so much. Still, the emptiness hit different. I didn't entirely mind it. If anything, I caught myself breathing easier. But that didn't erase the fact that I'd spent years in a relationship that fit about as well as a loaner suit. My parents' suit, really, since they'd practically tailored Zane for me. And now, those same parents had been blowing up my phone all weekend. Calls, voicemails, a few texts that somehow sounded like threats, even without punctuation. I ignored them, of course, but dodging them was exhausting in its own way. By Monday, I looked like hell. Right before lunch break ended, I ducked into the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face, and scrubbed like I could erase the dark crescents under my eyes. I was patting my skin dry when a throat cleared behind me. I nearly jumped out of my skin. Sorry, Carter said, stepping out of a stall. Didn't mean to scare you. I tried to laugh it off, voice cracking halfway. Mission accomplished, though. His brow furrowed. You okay? Yeah, fine. I sounded like every liar in every interrogation room ever. He leaned against the wall, arms crossed. I heard the shouting on Friday night. My stomach dropped. How? Well, he said carefully, I was helping a friend move into your building. You nearly knocked me over in the hallway. I felt my face catch fire. The boxes. The stranger I'd barreled past. That was you? Yeah. Sorry if it was bad timing, or bad location, or both. He gave a faint, crooked smile. And I should probably apologize for the kiss, too. I didn't mean to stir up, whatever that was. I shook my head. You don't need to. No, I do, he cut in. His voice had softened, but it carried weight. I didn't intend to cause drama in your relationship. But... He hesitated, then said it anyway. Your boyfriend sounded like an asshole. You deserve someone who actually sees you, not someone who treats you like furniture. I stared at him as he exited the bathroom, throat dry. There were 100 things I could have said, but all I managed was, oh. 2 weeks later. 2 weeks later, Carter and I had somehow slipped into a rhythm. At first it was casual, him checking in on me like it was his unofficial side project. A quick, how's it going, in the hall. A coffee run where he just happened to grab one for me too. Then it became intentional. Lunch breaks, late-night chats about code we pretended to care about, debates about which terrible B-movie deserved to be canonized. I kept waiting for the catch. Maybe he was still guilty about the kiss. Or maybe it was pity, the human equivalent of leaving a bowl of milk out for a stray cat. But it didn't feel like that. It was too natural. Too easy. He laughed at my dumb jokes, pushed back on my half-baked takes, and actually listened when I rambled. No pity in sight, and I hated admitting it, but I liked being around him. I more than liked it. There was this pull I hadn't felt in, well, ever. With Zane, everything had been performance. Say the right thing, look the right way, don't embarrass the family. With Carter, it was just me. Messy, tired, sarcastic me. And he didn't flinch. But even as that pull got stronger, something in me tugged back. The wounds from Zane were still fresh. Every sharp word, every fight replaying in the background, like a bad song stuck on repeat. I wasn't sure if I was ready to dive into something new, or if I'd just end up dragging Carter into the wreckage with me. 1 month later, a few weeks later, Carter called in sick. Nothing serious, just a bad cold. But apparently serious enough that my supervisor decided I should play errand boy. "Drop these off at Finley's place," she said, like she was sending me across the street, not into a minefield. I didn't even know where Carter lived until I plugged it into maps. When I saw the address, my stomach sank. Same building as Zane. Of course, because the universe has a dark sense of humor. I told myself it'd be quick. Hand off the documents, maybe make a joke about soup, then leave before the ghosts of failed relationships could rise from the carpet. I knocked on Carter's door, waited, and right on cue, down the hallway came Zane, arm draped around some guy I didn't recognize, both of them laughing like they'd just left a rom-com audition. Zane's face dropped the second he saw me. Unbelievable. He pulled away from his date and stalked closer. I knew it. You and Carter. That little stunt at the kissing booth wasn't an accident. It was a cover. You've been screwing him this whole time, haven't you? My throat tightened. Zane, no. Look, I'm dropping off work stuff. That's it. Work stuff, he spat, voice echoing in the hallway. That's what we're calling it now. I could feel the neighbor's doors practically creaking open with curiosity. I tried again, softer. Please, just stop. It's not what you think. But Zane wasn't hearing it. He never did. He just kept going, piling accusation on top of accusation, like he was building a bonfire out of his own insecurity. That's when Carter's door swung open. Enough, Carter said, voice sharp as glass. He looked like hell, pale, hair messy, oversized hoodie, but he still carried enough presence to make Zane freeze. You want to talk about cheating, Carter went on. I've lived here a while now. You've brought home half the building, Zane. Don't play the victim just because Jules finally stopped pretending you were perfect. The color drained from Zane's face, then rushed back in furious blotches. He glanced at his date, who suddenly looked like they wanted to evaporate, then snapped, "This isn't over." With that, he yanked the poor guy along and stormed toward his apartment. Silence. Just me, Carter, and the stack of documents I was gripping like a shield. Here, I said, thrusting the folder at him. My voice cracked. Work stuff. Like I said, Jules. He started, but I was already backing away. Don't! I need to be alone. And before he could argue, I turned and left, heart pounding like I'd sprinted a marathon I never signed up for. 1 week later. The next week, I didn't set foot in the office. I called in sick, though sick wasn't the right word. I wasn't coughing, sneezing, or feverish. I was just hollow. Zane's betrayal stung deeper than I wanted to admit. And here's the part I hated most. I hadn't even loved him. Not really. But I'd been committed. Invested. I'd built a version of a future in my head, and watching it burn still broke my heart. Did it make sense? Not even a little. But heartbreak rarely does. By the end of the week, my phone had become a grenade. My parents had been calling nonstop, their names lighting up the screen like warning sirens. I ignored them, again and again, until finally, on the 5th ring that night, I snapped and answered. What? I barked. My mother's voice came sharp, clipped. So it's true then? You and Zane are finished? I pinched the bridge of my nose. Yes, we broke up weeks ago. There was a pause, then my father cut in, voice like a hammer. Do you have any idea what you've done? Zane called us. He said you've been reckless, disrespectful, that you humiliated him. I almost laughed. He humiliated me. You don't even know the half of it. We know enough, my father thundered. Zane is a good man, Jules, the kind of man you don't just throw away. If you had any sense, you'd go to him, apologize, and fix this before it's too late. He might still take you back. That was it. The match to the powder keg. Are you serious? I shot back. Do you even hear yourselves? He lied to me, manipulated me, and treated me like I was furniture. And you want me to crawl back? Beg him for forgiveness he doesn't deserve? Just so you can keep parading him around like some trophy son-in-law? Watch your tone, my father snapped. No, I spat, chest heaving. I am done watching my tone. I am done living a life you handpicked for me. Zane was never my choice. He was yours. And maybe you're too blinded by his money and his suits to see it, but he's toxic, and I won't spend one more second pretending he's not. Jules. I hung up before he could finish. The sound of the call ending was like a guillotine. My hand shook as I hurled my phone across the room. It shattered against the wall, exploding into pieces that skittered across the hardwood. The silence that followed felt heavy, final. Then came a knock. I froze. Another knock, steadier this time. When I opened the door, Carter stood there, hoodie pulled up, concern written across his face. I heard yelling, he said softly. You knew, I cut him off, voice sharp. You knew about Zane. About all of this, and you didn't say anything. His brow furrowed. What number? Jules, I swear, I didn't even know you and he were together until the kissing booth. If I had... Then what? I snapped. You would have warned me. Saved me from wasting years of my life. Congratulations, you're a little late. For a moment, the tension hung between us. Then Carter sighed, leaning against the doorframe. Look, I'm not here to fight. I'm here because I don't like seeing you like this. So, this weekend, there's a carnival in town. Come with me. Just get out of your head for a while. No pressure, no strings. I rubbed my temples, exhaustion clawing at me. I'll think about it. Good enough, he said gently, then slipped his hands into his pockets and turned to leave. 2 days later, by the time Saturday rolled around, saying no to Carter's invitation wasn't even on the table. The real war was waged in my closet. What do you wear when you're not sure if it's a date, but you secretly want it to be a date, but also you don't want to look like you tried for a date? My bedroom looked like a thrift store exploded. I settled on jeans and a shirt that said, I tried, but not too hard. At exactly 7 p.m., like not 6:59, not 7:01, Carter knocked on my door. Of course, he was punctual. Of course, he looked infuriatingly good in a leather jacket that probably cost more than my rent. The carnival was magical. There's no other word. String lights glowed overhead, rides creaked and spun against the night sky, and the air was thick with popcorn and fried dough. Carter somehow managed to win me a stuffed bear at the rigged ring toss. He swore it was skill. I swore it was witchcraft. We ate too much cotton candy, rode the Ferris wheel, and I may or may not have screamed like a child on the tilt-a-whirl, while Carter laughed so hard he almost fell out. I couldn't remember the last time I'd had that much fun. Certainly not with Zane. Maybe not ever. As the night wound down, Carter walked me toward his car. The air had cooled, quieter now without the carnival music blaring. My stomach buzzed with nerves I didn't want to name. So, he said lightly, glancing at me. How are you holding up? Really, I shoved my hands in my pockets. Honestly, better tonight. Thanks to you. It felt nice. Like I could breathe again. We stopped at the car, but neither of us moved to open the doors. Carter's eyes lingered on me. Steady, warm. There was a moment, charged, undeniable. He leaned in, slow, deliberate, and before I knew it, so did I. The kiss hit me like a live wire. Just as electric as the booth, but 10 times more real. I panicked, pulled back. Sorry, I can't. I turned to walk away, but Carter caught up, his gentle hand brushing my arm. Jules, hey, listen. I know Zane did a number on you, but it's time to let him go. And if you're not into me, that's fine. I just hate to see an asshole like him have so much of a hold on you. I shook my head, words tumbling out before I could stop them. It's not that. I do like you. God, I don't want you to feel like some rebound project. You deserve more than that. Carter exhaled, shoulders easing. I get it. And I'm sorry if I pushed. But I need you to know, I've had a crush on you for a while. The booth just made it impossible to keep pretending I didn't. My brain short-circuited. Carter, crushing on me. Mr. Leatherjacket, senior developer, intimidates the whole office, Carter. Liking me. You're serious? I managed. He gave me a small, crooked smile. Dead serious. You're sharp and kind, and you see people in a way most don't. That's rare, Jules. And yeah, you sell yourself short. But that doesn't mean I don't see what's there. My throat tightened. I blinked fast, dangerously close to crying in a parking lot. Before I could talk myself out of it, I leaned in this time, kissed him again. Slower, steadier. When we pulled apart, Carter brushed a thumb over my cheek. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. And for the first time in weeks, my chest didn't feel so heavy. 1 month later, when I finally crawled back to work, HR gave me the side eye like I'd faked the plague, but that was as uncomfortable as it got. The rest? Honestly, it was smooth. Slipping back into routine with Carter felt natural, like muscle memory. We talked through lunch breaks. We stayed late pretending to finish projects. We stole weekends for movies or coffee in the park. Somewhere along the way, I stopped caring what anybody else thought. And now, I was making the leap. Big boy pants, deep end, no floaties. Tonight, Carter was coming over for dinner, and I was going to ask him to be my boyfriend. Do people still say boyfriend at our age? Doesn't matter. That's what he was to me, and I wanted him to know it. So, I cooked. Actual cooking. Not microwave ramen. Not fancy cereal. A real dinner with pans, oil, and a recipe I had to squint at 5 times because apparently I can run marketing campaigns but not remember when to add garlic. My apartment smelled amazing though, and for once, not like takeout containers and Febreze. Carter was excited, finally getting to see my place. Which meant, of course, that I'd spent the whole afternoon making it look less like a single guy's cave and more like a human lived here. I vacuumed. I dusted. I even hid the pile of laundry under my bed, where it now waits like a shameful secret. I'd never been this nervous about anything in my life, not the kissing booth, not the fight with Zane, not even my parents' constant, exhausting judgment. Because this wasn't about defending myself or surviving something. This was about choosing, about finally wanting something enough to reach for it. And I wanted Carter. 3 hours later, at exactly 6:55 p.m., there was a knock at my door. Weird. Carter was a 7 o'clock on the dot guy. Like clockwork. Like Swiss clockwork. Regardless, when I opened the door, I did not expect to find Zane freaking Bradford standing there, wearing that smug banker smile that made my blood pressure spike. Jules, he drawled, like we were old buddies meeting for golf. Before I could answer, he angled his shoulder like he was about to waltz right in. I planted myself in the doorway, arms wide, blocking him. What the fuck do you want, Zane? He smirked, eyes sliding past me into my apartment like it was already his. I've had time to think. About us, and I've decided. I can forgive you. I blinked at him. Forgive me? Yes, he said, tone smug, like he was offering me salvation. You embarrassed me. But I can find it in my heart to move past it, if you're ready to apologize properly. I barked out a laugh, sharp and ugly. You've lost your mind. I don't owe you a damn thing. The smirk dropped, his face twisted, the mask slipping. What the hell does that mean? Do you even know what I've done for you? For your family? That donation I made to your father's company. That wasn't pocket change. That was me keeping your sorry ass relevant. I clenched my fists, but he wasn't done. You think anyone else would want you? He hissed, eyes flashing. Look at you, Jules. You're nothing without me. A nobody. A burnout, clinging to whatever scraps of attention you can get. I made you worth something. My chest burned, fury crawling up my throat. No, Zane. All you ever made me was miserable. You didn't love me. You owned me. And newsflash, I'm done being your fucking pet project. He stepped closer, jaw clenched so tight I could hear his teeth grind. You'll regret this. When Carter gets bored with you, and he will, don't come crawling back to me. I stared him down, pulse hammering. I'd rather crawl through glass barefoot than ever crawl back to you. And that's when another voice cut through, firm and steady. Jules? Carter rounded the corner, flowers in hand, his brows pulling together the second he saw Zane. His voice was calm, but sharp enough to slice. Is he bothering you? Something inside me loosened. I stepped aside, letting Carter in, my eyes locked on Zane's. Don't worry about it, Zane. He's on his way out. The slam of the door rattled my apartment, and for a second, I just stood there, palms pressed against the wood, heart still thudding like I'd run a marathon. Carter set the flowers down on the counter, quiet, giving me space. When I finally turned, he just tilted his head at me. You okay? Yeah. My voice cracked. No. I will be. Carter nodded like that was enough. He didn't press. He just shrugged off his jacket, rolled up his sleeves, and said, So, what's for dinner? I laughed, shaky but real. Chicken parm. Unless I burned it. In which case, toast? We ended up with something in between. Carter helped me finish plating, and soon we were sitting at my little kitchen table, knees brushing under the wood. The apartment smelled like garlic and basil, and, for once, not like loneliness. Conversation slipped easily. Work, movies. Him teasing me about screaming on the tilt-a-whirl. I teased him back about nearly falling over at my bathroom surprise. The usual. But underneath it, there was something heavier. Something waiting. Halfway through, I put my fork down. My palms were sweaty. My brain screamed, "Don't do it!" But my chest whispered. Finally. Carter, I said, too loudly. I cleared my throat. So, this is gonna sound dumb, but I want you to be my boyfriend. The words hung there, raw, clumsy, terrifying. Carter blinked at me. Then a slow smile broke across his face. That's what you've been sweating over all night? Don't make fun of me, I muttered, heat rushing up my neck. I'm not, he said, grinning. Yeah, Jules. Of course. I thought that was already obvious. I froze. Wait. Seriously? Seriously. He reached across the table, his hand covering mine. But hearing you say it? Kinda the best part. And just like that, the tightness in my chest eased. My shoulders dropped. For the first time in years, maybe, I felt light. We finished dinner. We kissed in the kitchen. Later, when the plates were stacked in the sink and the night had gone quiet, I realized something simple, something huge. I hadn't just shut the door on Zane. I'd opened it to someone who actually saw me, and this time, I wasn't going to run. Conclusion. In the weeks that followed, life didn't magically turn into a rom-com, but it was pretty damn close. Carter and I grew together, slow and steady, like we'd both finally exhaled after holding our breath too long. Eventually, he quit the company. Not in a blaze of glory, though I swear he could have, but with a quiet determination. 6 months later, he opened a rival business, the kind of startup that made our old office look like it was running on hamster wheels. Naturally, he invited me to partner with him. Naturally, I said yes. Turns out working with someone you actually like? Revolutionary concept. As for my parents, well, let's just say we settled things. And by settled, I mean I told them flat out. Whatever they did with Zane was none of my business. And my personal life? None of theirs. Period. No more fishing trips where I was the trout. And Zane? Honestly, I couldn't tell you. He slipped so far off my radar, he might as well have been orbiting another planet. Maybe he's still out there, charming some poor soul into thinking his confidence isn't just ego in a suit. Maybe not. Either way, it's irrelevant, because I was no longer rehearsing someone else's lines. I was living out mine, and I wasn't alone in this anymore. The end. You ever had to deal with a Zane? How did you go about it? Thanks for watching. Subscribe to become part of our Rainbow Force, and consider joining our membership for early access and exclusive content. Stay wholesome.